Well, as good as your Tuesday morning may be going, it's probably not going as well as Dallas Cowboy quarterback Dak Prescott in a story that I thought was never going to end. Sometimes in our business, we talk about stories that go on and on and on and on. And one of them has been the Dak Prescott contract story. What was going to happen? How much money was Dak Prescott going to make? Was Jerry Jones going to stay committed to his former fourth-round quarterback, Dak Prescott? Well, we finally got resolution on this issue. A lot of different details to dive into surrounding what the Cowboys have decided to do. But I'm going to give you some of the basic deal terms here. Cowboys have given Dak Prescott 4 years, $160 million, including a record $126 million guaranteed. The first 3 years average $42 million per year. That, my friends, is a good contract. Way too big, in fact, I think, but we'll get to that in a moment. No trade clause, no tag provision. So in addition to the fact that Dak Prescott is getting this money, he will not ever have to worry about being traded. The deal can also be worth up to $164 million, $66 million to sign, and $75 million in year one, the most in NFL history. There is basically now quarterback salaries, and then there's what everybody else makes in the entirety of the NFL. Couple of other data points that I think are worth hitting here. Cowboys 2021 Super Bowl odds. They ain't that good, all right? 28-1 to win Super Bowl 56, if I'm reading the Roman numerals correctly. To win the NFC, 13-1 to win the NFC East, about even money. They are favored in what is probably the weakest division in all of sports. Dak Prescott will now be the second highest paid quarterback, even coming off of this monstrous injury that ended his season. Dak Prescott is the second highest paid quarterback in the history of the NFL. Let me repeat that with you. Dak Prescott is now the second highest paid quarterback in NFL history. Patrick Mahomes is making $45 million per year. Dak Prescott will make $40 million under the existing terms of his deal. Deshaun Watson making $39 million. Russell Wilson, $35 million. Aaron Rodgers and Jared Goff. By the way, how much money did Jared Goff get? $33.5 million. Kirk Cousins, $33 million. Carson Wentz, $32 million. Matt Ryan, $30 million. And Ryan Tannehill, $29.5 million. Those are your highest paid quarterbacks right now in the NFL. Now, interesting point, which probably won't receive very much attention because everyone is victims these days. The 4 highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL right now are all black. Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson, and Russell Wilson are the 4 highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. So I know that we constantly reiterate like this old, tired tripe about how the NFL is systemically racist or how it's unfair. The 4 highest paid quarterbacks right now in the NFL are all black quarterbacks. Now, this will continue to evolve as we go forward because every quarterback deal that comes up, they try to set a new high. And that's why I've always said you should be rooting if you're a quarterback in the NFL or any professional athlete, or frankly, anybody who sits around and does radio, anybody who sits around and does television, whatever your job is. Heck, if you're a roofer, you want other people to make as much money as they possibly can doing that job because a rising tide eventually lifts all boats. And within that context, Dak Prescott's salary was $450,000 his rookie year as a 4th-round draft pick. and he's going to make $75 million in 2021 and an average of $40 million a year for the next 4 years. So, Dak Prescott, I have argued, was entitled to a big payday because if you consider his contract, the Cowboys had been getting an absolute steal for the past several years in terms of what he cost because of that fourth-round salary, making him virtually no money at all. In fact, if you look at his historical compensation, he just made a couple of $1 million. It's wild to think about the difference between a first-round, a second-round, third-round, and fourth-round quarterback. Let me just run this through for you because I do think it's kind of instructive. Dak has been a quarterback for 5 years in the NFL. In year one, he made $1.1 million. In year two, he made $941,000. Year three, $630,000. And year four, $2.1. Now, the reason why these numbers can be a little bit different than the numbers that I just told you is because there are signing bonuses that are allocated in different years, which is the difference between what somebody may make under the actual existing contract as opposed to the money that they actually signed for. Last year, remember, the Dallas Cowboys franchise tagged Dak Prescott, which is why we spent so much time talking about his contract situation. They paid him $31.4 million last year, and I got to be honest with you, I thought that there was likely to end up being a lot of different angles of this deal with Dak Prescott, particularly from a salary cap perspective, and that will be complicated to follow through and figure out everything exactly as we go forward. But the big takeaways are, again, no trade clause, meaning that he gets the opportunity to effectively serve out the entirety of this contract without having to worry about being traded at all. On top of that, no trade clause, the biggest amount of guaranteed money that we have ever seen in the history of the NFL. Again, $126 million. And the first 3 years average $42 million per year. Now, this is also a big deal and an important contract because there is lots of talk out there all the time. You see these big dollar figures that are discussed and tossed out there, but they don't actually end up reflecting what somebody actually earns because a lot of it, it's just about bragging rights, and the money at the end of the deal is actually not ever earned. I don't believe that's going to be the case in any respect with this particular deal with Dak. The expectations, given his age, would be that he would earn out in a big way and make effectively all $160 million over the next 4 years. So, my goodness, this is a big story out there. If you are a Dallas Cowboy fan, whether you are a long-term believer of Dak Prescott or not, you better be now because you are paying him an absolute king's ransom, and he is going to be your franchise quarterback for the next 3 years minimum. Big picture. What does this tell us? One, we basically have an economy in the NFL for quarterbacks and every other position. There is a big difference between what you earn if you are a quarterback, how many years you can play, all of those things. And under the new television rights deal that will be announced in the near future, that first-class citizenship for quarterbacks and second-class citizenship for everybody else is only going to grow. And you can project out the years ahead based on the NFL's salary cap tables that we may well see quarterbacks making $60, $70, $80 million a year, which is wild to think about as this salary cap explodes in the years ahead. Because remember, the quarterback, if you're talking about Patrick Mahomes, for instance, is actually being underpaid relative to how much difference he makes compared to other positions. And that's what always happens when you have a salary cap at all. Major League Baseball doesn't have a salary cap. And so there's absolutely no way that a Mike Trout or a Fernando Tatis Jr. or any of those guys signing Aaron Judge monster contracts in the years ahead, Trevor Bauer right now, those guys don't have to worry about whether or not they're being fully compensated for their overall impact. They are. But, man, this is a blockbuster story. Now, in addition to this story, it also takes the Dallas Cowboys off the table as a potential destination for, say, Russell Wilson, who had named the Cowboys as one of 4 teams that he would potentially be willing to play for. So how does this reconfigure the overall landscape of the quarterback positions? Well, it takes Dallas out of the mix. We still have Deshaun Watson unhappy with the Houston Texans. We still have Russell Wilson unhappy with the Seattle Seahawks, and that's changing a little bit. And by the way, we will talk with Albert Breer. We are scheduled to, in the third hour of the program, about everything relating to the NFL drama that is out there right now. But we still have Deshaun Watson. We still have Dak Prescott now resolved. We still have the uncertainty surrounding Russell Wilson. But I actually think one of the most intriguing teams that's out there that has a ton at stake right now is what in the world are the New England Patriots going to do? Because this was the storyline that to me is one of the most compelling in all of sports, because the Patriots rolled the dice, and there was some talk, if you looked at who the next quarterback of the New England Patriots was going to be, that Dak Prescott might be their guy. Well, now Dak Prescott is off the board for Bill Belichick and everybody else, and so what happens going forward with the decision-making as it pertains to the New England Patriots? How does this impact the San Francisco 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo? I think those two teams are intertwined now, because I actually think the next quarterback of the New England Patriots, as the number of available quarterbacks continues to decline, I actually think the next quarterback for the New England Patriots is going to end up being either Marcus Mariota or potentially maybe being Jimmy Garoppolo. Because I think ultimately Bill Belichick is looking around at all the different available quarterback positions, and he is thinking to himself, this is a major opportunity for me to finally remake my roster in the wake of Tom Brady being gone. And I think Brady ultimately has made Belichick feel awful about the way that he has played since he departed New England. In fact, the stats are off the charts. I don't know that we talk enough about this, but if you look at what has been capable and what has been done by Tom Brady, this is since he turned 40 years old. 3 Super Bowl appearances, 2 Super Bowls, an MVP, 2 Pro Bowls. Look at what happened last year. 2019 with New England, Brady completed 61% of his passes, threw for 254 yards, 24 touchdowns, 8 INTs, passer rating of 88. Look at what he did this year with Tampa Bay. Completed 66% of his passes, so 6% better, threw for 290 yards. So, and again, live math is always tough with me on the radio, as you know, 36 more yards per game. 40 to 12 TD to INT. That was regular season, by the way. He ended up with 50 touchdown passes if you count the postseason, and a passer rating of 102.2. What is wild about Belichick, as we look at what happened with Dak and try to project what might happen going forward with the decision being made by the Patriots, is you know that Bill Belichick has never drafted a first-round quarterback in his career, and in fact, the highest passer rating in terms of draft pick that he's ever gone and gotten is Jimmy Garoppolo. And Jimmy Garoppolo, Dub, if you'll look this up for me, Jimmy Garoppolo was at the bottom of the second round, wasn't he? Like 61 or 62?
62 in the second round, yeah.
62 in the second round. So Belichick obviously has had success with Jacoby Brissett. He's had success with Jimmy Garoppolo. But Jimmy Garoppolo is actually the highest-rated quarterback that Bill Belichick has ever drafted. And as we start to see these scenarios playing out, again, Deshaun Watson, we have to determine what's going to happen with him. We have to determine what's going to happen with Russell Wilson. I'm starting to believe Russell Wilson's going to stay with the Seahawks, and if that happens, it really means Deshaun Watson is the only big-time quarterback that's available out there, which is why I'm circling back around to I think the New England Patriots are going to end up, I really do, with either Marcus Mariota or Jimmy Garoppolo as their quarterbacks going forward. But, man, finally this story is over. Dub, how many hours do you think we've spent talking about the Dak Prescott contract over the years?
Well, it's been at least 2 years. The number of segments I think would be a better way to ask that question.
Yes.
It's got to have been at least 40 segments.
It's one of the most long discussions in the history of sports I can remember without any resolution whatsoever, right? It's not like it's a debate. It's something that you knew was going to be decided at some point in time. And when I saw this news come down on Monday afternoon or Monday evening, I was like, hallelujah, thank the Lord. We finally have a resolution with the Dak Prescott drama going forward.